Mistakes are part of being human. We all make them. But throughout history, there have been mistakes so colossal that they didn't just cost lives, they cost entire fortunes. Billions of dollars were lost, reputations were destroyed, and some errors even changed the course of history forever. From engineering disasters to business blunders, these are the most expensive mistakes in history, and they all prove that a single wrong decision can echo for generations. In 1912, the world's most luxurious ship set sail across the Atlantic. The Titanic was marketed as unsinkable, a triumph of engineering and wealth. Yet, a series of simple oversights, including ignoring repeated iceberg warnings, turned the ship's maiden voyage into a nightmare. More than 1,500 lives were lost, and financially, the White Star Line never recovered. The ship cost $7.5 million to build, equivalent to nearly $200 million today, and the disaster is still considered one of the most expensive tragedies at sea. Jump forward to 1999, when NASA launched the Mars Climate Orbiter. The mission was supposed to study the Martian atmosphere, but a tiny detail went overlooked. One engineering team used English units, while another used metric. That small calculation error meant the spacecraft entered the atmosphere at the wrong angle and was destroyed. In an instant, $125 million was gone. It remains one of the most embarrassing and expensive mistakes in the history of space exploration. But some mistakes cost not just money, but entire generations. In 1986, during a late-night safety test, the Chernobyl nuclear reactor exploded in Ukraine. What was supposed to be routine turned into the worst nuclear disaster the world has ever seen. The cleanup cost alone exceeded $68 billion, and the long-term economic damage has been estimated at over $200 billion. Entire cities became ghost towns, and even today, billions are spent to contain the radioactive ruins. A single human error turned into a multi-generational catastrophe. That same year, 1986, tragedy also struck in space. The Challenger space shuttle was meant to be a symbol of American innovation. But just 73 seconds after liftoff, the shuttle disintegrated because of a faulty rubber seal known as an O-ring. NASA lost a $3 billion spacecraft, but the bigger cost came from halting the shuttle program for nearly 3 years. Billions more were lost in delays, redesigns, and reputational damage. It remains one of the darkest moments in space history. Of course, some of history's most expensive mistakes happened not in the skies, but in the financial markets. In October 1929, the world witnessed the Wall Street crash that triggered the Great Depression. Overnight, trillions of dollars in value evaporated. Economists estimate the crash erased the modern equivalent of nearly $400 billion from the U.S. economy, plunging millions into poverty. A reckless cycle of greed and speculation became one of the costliest lessons in financial history. But disasters aren't always caused by greed or miscalculations. Sometimes it's simply human negligence. In 1989, the Exxon Valdez oil tanker ran aground in Alaska, spilling 11 million gallons of crude oil into pristine waters. The cleanup cost Exxon around $7 billion, but the real price was paid by the ecosystem. Decades later, some areas still haven't fully recovered, making this one of the costliest environmental mistakes in history. History also shows that mistakes can destroy empires. In 1812, Napoleon Bonaparte made one of the most infamous decisions of all time. He invaded Russia. Over 500,000 soldiers marched in, but only a fraction survived the brutal winter. The campaign drained resources, shattered his army, and led directly to the collapse of his empire. Modern economists estimate the cost would equal hundreds of billions today. It wasn't just a military blunder. It was the decision that ended Napoleon's dream of ruling Europe. And sometimes, the most expensive mistakes don't involve armies or disasters at all. Sometimes, they happen in boardrooms. In the year 2000, Netflix offered to sell itself to Blockbuster for $50 million. The executives laughed and turned it down. Today, Netflix is worth over $200 billion, while Blockbuster is nothing but nostalgia. That single decision is remembered as one of the greatest business blunders in history. From ships and shuttles to stock markets and streaming services, these stories remind us that one mistake can change everything. Some cost billions, others cost lives, and some cost entire empires. The lesson is simple. Even the smallest oversight can create consequences we can't imagine. Which of these disasters shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories about history.